Look, I've talked a lot about adding testosterone cream to an injection protocol to supercharge erections. We've discussed how permeable the scrotal skin is from testosterone cream, how much 5-alpha reductase 2 enzymes are there, and thus how much DHT conversion you get. But what I don't think a lot of people understand is this: how much in terms of nanograms per deciliter does DHT increase with a little bit of transcrotal cream on top of an injection protocol? You would be surprised how much DHT you get from just this strategy and what that does to sexual function. So we're going to break this down. Testosterone cream in a particular concentration, very low doses of it. What exactly does that do to DHT? You will be surprised because I have the calculations. We're talking about major increases in the one hormone that gives you supercharged erections from only a little bit of material. Sit back, my friend, strap in. I've got ChatGPT, the advanced reasoning element of it, involved in this, and I got some crazy numbers for you for how much a little bit of test cream jacks up the DHT. Let's get into it. All right, before we start the video, look, Cortex Labs, which is my company, is a TRT guided sexual dysfunction resolution and performance optimization company. A lot of different products right now. The most important stuff is coaching is 50% off. One-on-one coaching with me, a 1 month, a 3 month, a 6 month, or a 12 month, targeted toward fixing erectile and libido issues on HRT, TRT, as well as coming from hair loss drugs. You can book me at UnderAMinuteLiveCortex.com right now. It's 50% off. Use the code COACH discount. You're saving thousands right now. We get on the fact-finding call as soon as tomorrow, and Geronimo after that, brother. Source list: if you need to get any anabolic you can think of, including high-potency DHT, which a lot of people need to dial in their protocols, just get source list. It's 30% off. Codes on the screen and down in the description of this video. And lastly, if you need to dial in a testosterone cypionate regarding libido and erections, I created an entire video course with all the protocols to teach you to do that. Get it down below or at livecortex.com. All right, so you guys have heard me talk about adding a little bit of transcrotal cream on top of an injection protocol, assuming that estrogen is reasonably close to your range or right around the range where you need to be at. And what this usually does for people, assuming, again, all the other elements are correct in a protocol, including functional testicles, is take erections from 60% to 100%, or erections from 85% to 110%, or erections from 90% to 120%. It's a little weird for me to say this, but I'm effectively the guy that enhances other guys' boners. So, I mean, I know all the strategies. The notion of hybrid protocols is a very popular notion, popularized on the web some time ago and gone into extreme detail from me. I've used it in client work over the past couple years. I've had a lot of really great success with it, but what people don't get, because I think people end up listening to that, let me add a little bit of cream on top of injections, all the other elements aren't correct, like estrogen in range or functional testicles, and then they use too much cream. Not going to supercharge erections with too much cream. Everything has to be dosed perfectly. And what I'm going to show you is just how much, in terms of nanograms per deciliter, DHT increases. It's a lot, boys, from a little bit of cream. Let's get into it. All right, let's get to the details here. What I asked Chat to do is look at the 100 milligram per milliliter test cream, figure out what a fifth of one click ultimately is in terms of like milligrams of testosterone, and give me approximately how much that would raise serum DHT. Some details of what it found, looking at the blood work, the studies that came from transcrotal cream. So this is pulling directly from that hallmark study that shows how swiftly and how quickly DHT peaks when you use transcrotal cream. Some details: serum testosterone rises pretty quickly, 2 to 3 hours after application. You get the peak of testosterone. DHT in some of these studies rose time dependently but not dose dependently, peaking at 120 nanograms per deciliter at 4.9 hours. So you get that peak in DHT between 4.9 hours and 6 hours. This is why this shit's so powerful. And by the way, estradiol was unchanged. That's why this is good for this, boys. It goes through some of the mechanisms, some of the stuff what we've described before, how scrotal skin has higher 5-alpha reductase activity, which would explain a lot more elevated DHT when you use scrotal cream. So if you look at the 100 milligram per milliliter topi-click container of testosterone cream, one full click, just turning the topi-click container, is 0.25 grams of cream. The applicator in this case extrudes through 5 holes. Again, 5 holes through which cream comes out. And if you use just one hole, you're using 1/5 of a click, which is 0.05 grams of cream. We're going to translate that to milligrams of testosterone in a second. At 100 milligrams per milliliter of cream, 0.05 grams is 5 milligrams. 5 milligrams of testosterone applied. This is why, boys, I'm suggesting lower doses, because think about it. If you're at 15 milligrams a day of an injectable and you add a whole click or something, you're looking at 100 milligrams or more of testosterone. It's going to over-aromatize. It's going to make you make 2-DHT, which inhibits estradiol too much. Generally, it causes problems if it's too much. But 1/5 of a click is 5 milligrams. You wouldn't want, on top of your 15 milligrams a day of injectable, an extra 100 milligrams of testosterone, right? Like, that's way too much. I'm telling you, boys, the cream is fucking potent. Now, this is where it gets interesting. It goes relative to how much DHT actually increases here. Because DHT was not dose dependent from 12.5 to 50 milligrams, a 5 milligram dose will still likely elevate DHT materially, but probably a bit less than the 120 nanograms per deciliter peak reported at 12.5 milligrams. So at 12.5 milligrams, which is roughly like 2/5, almost a little more than 2/5 of a click, rose DHT 120 nanograms per deciliter above baseline. So a conservative, therefore, anchored evidence-based estimate of DHT peaking from just 5 milligrams testosterone cream, a very small bit, again, 1/5 of the click, you're peaking DHT 80 to 120 nanograms per deciliter 4 to 6 hours after application, boys. So the dose used, okay? The dose used right here, 5 milligrams testosterone total, right? It's 100 milligram per milliliter cream. It's a 1/5 of the click. Expected DHT, transient increase, because again, this stuff is short-lived. It's up in, it boosts, peaks the DHT, and then it starts dropping. That's what you want it to do. 80 to 120 nanograms per deciliter peak, 4 to 6 hours after application. And then it starts to taper. To try to understand this, let's look at the reference range for DHT for an adult. It's 30 to 85 nanograms per deciliter, dude. Some labs report 100 nanograms per deciliter, the upper end of normal. Above 85, usually, traditionally on the labs, above 85 is supraphysiologic levels of DHT. If you're talking about a transient increase of 80 to 120 nanograms per deciliter from using a little bit of testosterone cream, if you look at the reference range here, say you're in the middle. Say you're at 55, and we take the conservative side of the projection of 85 nanograms per deciliter increase. That's taking you to 140 nanograms per deciliter of dihydrotestosterone in the blood. You are uber super physiologic at that point. It's a lot of DHT. The bottom line, here, let me scroll down a little bit so you guys can see. Even a very small dose, right around 5 milligrams test, cream, can disproportionately raise DHT, often pushing it 50 to 100% above the top of the normal male range, despite only a modest increase in serum testosterone, which means only a modest increase in the aromatizable androgen, which means less estradiol and more DHT. It's what you want for erections, boys. Believe me. So layman's terms, right? If you're not following so far, this is what this means. A small fraction of a click of 100 milligrams per milliliter testosterone cream translates to about 5 milligrams of testosterone being applied and absorbed through the scrotum. That 5 milligrams of testosterone, because it's being applied directly to the scrotum, converts to enough DHT to take you, even if you're in the middle of the range already, which you should be based on your injections, to supraphysiologic territory in DHT. It can raise DHT from 80 to 120 nanograms per deciliter above where you already are. And when I thought to myself, before truly understanding this, when I started implementing hybrid protocols for people that I recognized folks needed to get their estrogen in range and they needed a little more DHT sometimes on top of that, and then they were dialed in. When I went and did this extrapolation, I realized I found something no one else was looking at, which is that if you bump up the DHT just a little bit and estradiol is in reasonably close to the range, or preferably the sweet spot for you, which you need to find out, you can increase erection quality 20 to 50% or more. The kind of EQ bumps that I get with client work from adding a little DHT, whether it's the 20% stuff, just apply to the scrotum every other day, every third day, every day, it really depends on the person, but small amounts of the DHT, or layering in a small bit of testosterone cream on top of a low-dose injectable protocol. It's like, it takes people from trying to dial in for 3 fucking years on injections and never tried adding prop or cream or DHT itself to their protocol to having erections back. They've tried everything. They've tried AIs, they've tried DHT derivatives, they've tried lower doses, they've tried mega doses, they've tried cycles, they've tried fucking Clomid with their TRT. None of it worked. But raising the DHT just a little bit solves the problem. Some of the real interesting cases is like, well, people were at the T dose, the injectable dose of cypionate, as an example, with HCG and DHEA, that gave them penetrative erections for sex, like that worked for sex, but they didn't have nocturnals. They didn't have morning erections, which means they don't have the mechanisms in place to prevent atrophy of the penis. That's why you get nocturnal erections. If you don't have those, if you don't have them in the morning, you're not supplying the tissues with blood and oxygenation, which atrophies them. This causes ED over time, boys. You got to maintenance the male organ. So guys that are okay for penetrative sex, so therefore they think they're dialed in, and they're just like, yeah, I don't get nocturnals, I don't get morning wood, I'm just leaving that alone. I mean, frankly, those guys' dicks are going to die over time because they don't have the oxygenation and blood flow at nighttime. Adding a little bit of DHT makes the erections for sex, for penetrative sex, much better, and they don't go soft during, and they stay harder after climax, which is insane because prolactin's attempting to shut that down. But importantly, now they get full erection quality, because the organ's being maintained at nighttime with nocturnal erections and spontaneous erections throughout the day. I mean, we're revitalizing penile health in these cases. And there's one hormone that does that, and it's DHT. How ludicrous is it that you only need a fifth of a click of low concentration cream to bump DHT up substantial to the point where likely you're going to be super physiologic? This is both a blessing and it's the mistake people make because they dose more cream than they should. This tells us two things. You don't need a lot of cream, testosterone cream, low concentration test cream on top of an injection protocol to supercharge erections. Tells us too that people on injection protocols, especially if they're lower dosing to get estrogen in range, which is an admirable, intelligent thing to do if you can't dial in AIs and have high doses with an AI, that they land in a place where sexual function might be okay, but they don't have enough DHT to make it like the teenage style erections and libido. So we add a little bit of DHT via a little bit of cream and the problem is solved. Boys, I figured out all manner. I mean, there's always many ways to skin a cat, but like this is like all I do from 9 in the morning until like 6 p.m. every day for years now is doing coaching and thinking about this stuff and doing research and seeing real results. Brothers, this is why I'm so adamant on telling you folks a little bit of DHT. Whether it's the 20% DHT gel / oil that you can get from Source List, or it's a little bit of test cream. Long as your estrogen's close to your sweet spot or in it, long as you have functional testicles, it solves the problem for a lot of people. And now you know in terms of nanograms per deciliter of DHT how much a little bit of cream goes a long fucking way. However, it's not just that 5 milligrams of cream always apply to fixing a person's situation. It depends on the whole rest of the protocol. There's many working parts here. And for folks that don't want to go at it alone, just hire me. Full protocol architecture geared toward resolving libido and erection sensation and climax issues on TRT, coming off of cycles, on any ester you've tried or that you're on, or in cases of serious sexual dysfunction. I mean, this is what I do. You can hire me for a one-on-one package, a 1 month, 3 month, a 6 month, or a 12 month if you've got the budget. And right now, you're saving thousands of dollars. The code Coach Discount will knock thousands of dollars, 50% off. It's almost like I'm giving it away close to free. It's 50% of the price, reduced now. This discount is going away because there are only a limited amount of slots left. And once they're booked, I can't take any more clients and I got to kill the special, boys. So you can book me livecortex.com. When you do, we're on the fact-finding call, meaning we're starting as soon as tomorrow. Trying to get your sexual function straight. Let's pull the trigger and get it done. Source List, 30% off. 30% off any anabolic you can think of, including high-potency DHT, HMG, oral DHT, peptides, anything you can think of, boys. Honestly, well, one of the best lists of sources out there. It's 30% off. You can get it down in the description of this video. Lastly, if you have to dial in Cypionate and want to go at it alone for libido and erections, just buy Mastering Testosterone Cypionate. It's a course. It's an hour and 5 minutes. I get emails every day of people following the advice and saying the steel rods and the libido is back. All right, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you boys, and all the information that I've like the video because YouTube and the algorithm we're growing. God, I slept fine. I don't know, my brain's not working. Hold on. What is wrong with this chair? God damn it. Sorry, boys. Yeah, like the video, please. Huge difference. The algorithm depends on your guys' likes. Sub to the... Sorry, you guys couldn't hear me really well. Sorry, let me just grab my mic. I keep forgetting about it. What's going on here? Give me this! God. I'm sorry. The video's over. Been a pleasure hanging out with you boys. Hope you're having a great week so far. Please like the video. Yes, it really does make a difference. I mean, if there's anything you want to do for me, just do it, bro. Honestly, I'd do you that favor. Do me the favor. Sub to the channel. Growing rapidly, boys. And we talk about this stuff from a scientific perspective and an experience perspective, targeted toward libido and erections on TRT. It's a huge problem out there because there's not a lot of information. We're geared to dialing you in. I'd love to have you on board. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, enjoy the rest of your day. Content coming this week, and I'll talk to you boys on the next one.